Good evening, everybody. Back at Destination Uri for the Camlough and Bessbrook and Derrimore areas. This is just a bit of a roundup on some of what's going on in those areas. And such a beautiful Tuesday evening it is. So the first thing that I'd like to report is young Charlie. Young Charlie unfortunately broke his arm during a friendly football match. He plays for Camlough Rovers. So obviously the club and everybody in the area is hoping for a speedy recovery for young Charlie. And that just happened on Saturday past. So a bit of luck, he'll be back on his feet, back playing football around the Camlough area. And fair play to Charlie. Okay, but also just like to mention for the Camlough Rovers, they had a win. That was for the senior team. And that was a 2-0 win over the Filla Rovers. So fair play to Camlough Rovers for that. Apparently they're on a bit of a winning streak, so hopefully that will last fairly long. And fair play to the lads on the senior team. Also like to now give a bit of a mention to Carrickruppen, and there is a wee fundraiser going on at the moment. It's a young fella called Dylan Moan. Maybe Cahill, if you can get that up. There's Dylan there with unfortunately his late grandfather, Noel Moan. So Dylan, in fairness, is doing a fundraiser. It's obviously in memory of his grandfather, and this is to raise money for the issue of prostate cancer. And he's going to do, it's a run, I think, for 50 mile over a period of time. I think it's the 1st of October to the 31st of October. And that's a fundraiser. So, anybody that wants to make a donation, just go onto the Carrickruppen Facebook page, and you'll see the link there that you can go in and make a donation to that very, very worthy cause. So again, just a young fella, taking this in his own hands, and, fair play, absolutely brilliant. Love to see it, leading the way and raising funds for a very worthy cause. And then to the seniors, Carrickruppen seniors, that was a good win for them on Sunday the 13th against Collegeland. So fair play to the seniors, big shout out for them. The ladies, unfortunately, just as that's them at their training with their chair of the club, Jerry Flynn, and they did absolutely brilliant to get into the county final. Just unfortunately, it was against Armagh Harps. Armagh Harps just on the day were the better team, but they played an absolutely fantastic match. And to get to the final is a massive achievement. So fair play to the ladies. And best luck, for next year. There's always more opportunities, around the corner for you. Just keep at it, keep at the training, keep together as a team, and no doubt you'll get all the good support, from your coaches and management down in Carrickruppen. Okay, I'd like to then go on to the Shanes, bit of a roundup on the Shanes. And the first thing on the Clara tonight is the lotto. So you can see the jackpot's still there. For this week, it'll be 6,100 quid. We had 4 match 3 winners. Kevin Barry, that's Kevin from Balnalack, I take it. Jessica McTaggart, Colin McCardle, and Dee Griffin. So fair play to those that bought the tickets and they got a bit of a win. So exciting times for anybody that will take the jackpot if that is possible. As I say, it's over 6,000 quid. The senior ladies, they're playing Carrickruppen. I think it's next Saturday. So fair play to both teams. It'll be a good match, particularly when it's local. Wee bit of rivalry and all of that type of stuff, so everybody from whatever quarter, should be down, giving them a bit of support. The senior lads, unfortunately, they got beaten. They were playing Tullysaran last Saturday night, and it was 16 points to 1-8, so unfortunately it just didn't go from that particular night. But again, like any other team, just keep at it, lads. Keep up the training, and no doubt you'll get plenty of support. And I'd just like to talk about a wee initiative that the Shanes are carrying out at the moment. It's down at the club, and it's the building of a new gym. And you can see there, a bit of work going on. This is all voluntary work by, a lot of lads, bricklayers, tradesmen. And if you can see in the centre of the picture, and this is, just typical of when you bring together a group of people to do a particular task. you get the sort of worker bees, the ones that do all of the grafting, and they just get tore in, and no questions asked. And that's what you can see on the periphery of this photograph. And then in the middle, you get the queen bee. The queen bee is the one that sort of oversees things. And if you go to the next photograph, there's the queen bee still overseeing things. That's tags, Noel McTaggart. What would you do without somebody like that to ensure that everybody else is at the work? So fair play to Shane O'Neill's. This is the new gym that they're building, and like anything that they do, they just come together as a club, as a team, and no questions asked. They just get tore in, and so I wish them all the best of luck. Not too sure when they're going to be finished. No doubt tags will keep them on their toes and keep them hard at it. But again, fair play to Shane O'Neill's. Okay, so I'd like to go on to Creve Rua. That's our local hurling club. And that's the captain of the under-17s for Creve Rua. He's actually a young footballer, plays for the minors for Crossmaglen Rangers, and the club is wishing him well in the final against Clan na Gael, which is actually on tonight. So again, as I was saying before, that's the beauty of Creve Rua. They attract, players from other clubs, into the one club, and while they're maybe rivals at the football, their comrades are loyalty to each other, when they're playing the hurling. So fair play. There's a fundraiser going on at the minute. It's like any club. Obviously you need money to keep it together. And I'm not going to go into a whole pile of detail about this because I think one of the club members is going to send me a video next week. But, bottom line is some of the stuff that the Creve Rua would normally organise to raise funds would be the likes of the Hoolie Around Cooley and, street collections and stuff like that. Unfortunately, given the particular pandemic and COVID and restrictions and all of that, it's not possible. So they've got together, and this is to cheer them on in the county final. They're organising a virtual bus. And it's just, I noticed just on Facebook there today that one of the donations came from a former TD for County Louth and former MP for West Belfast. That's Jerry Adams. So fair play to Jerry. I don't know how he even noticed that. I'd say probably McGinn was onto him. But he's made their donation anyway. So anybody or everybody that wants to make a donation, just go on to the Facebook page and you will find, and there's my phone going, 1 wee second. You will find that's available on the Facebook page. So again, support is always welcomed. For all of these clubs. Okay, I'd like to go on to the next event, and that is the trailer marking event. I did say last week that this is what we were going to be doing last Wednesday, and it did take place. You can see just in the photograph, that's myself, of course, and two of the PSNI guys that turned up to help. Mark McGarty is the guy in the middle. I'm not too sure if the boy on my right, but or the right of the photograph. Anyhow, you can see just maybe if you can just that's Mark McGarty and Stevie Simpson. They're two community cops, and you can see what they do. They like as a stencil onto a trailer. It's a distinct, unique mark, which then is put onto a database. And Stevie Simpson, the guy there in the blue sweat top, he's got a machine that so I think sort of more or less engraves a mark onto the trailer, and so that went fairly well. I was pleasantly surprised at the amount of people that actually turned up, to make use of that particular service, and they stayed from early in the morning right up till about 2 o'clock that afternoon, and there's a significant amount of people turned up. This is also going to happen in the Crossmaglen Mart. I think it's sometime around the middle of October, maybe the 16th. I'm not too sure what day the Mart is on up in Cross. But again, it'll be advertised and people can come along. It's a free service. And, it really is a deterrent to would-be thieves who would like to take your trailer. The next issue that I'd like to talk about, this is a documentary that's going to be on RTE1 tomorrow night. It's on at 9:35. It's called Unquiet Graves. Now, I think this is its debut for RTE. Some people have said to me that have seen it in different places and stuff like that. I've never seen it, but it's highly recommended. Now, this is about and again, people that are interested in history, interested in the conflict, the most recent conflict in the north. This is something that maybe you should take a look at. It's narrated by Stephen Ray and was produced by a fellow called Sean Murray. And it's all about the Glenanne gang. So obviously the Glenanne gang was based in Glenanne, but it was composed of members of the RUC, the UDR, the British Army, and the UVF. And it was primarily directed by British military intelligence. So this is really smack bang on the issue of collusion. And it inspired also the book Lethal Allies by Anne Cadwallader, who was at one time a reporter, I think, for the press, the Irish press. But anyhow, there's quite a bit of work and detail has gone into both this documentary and that book. And it's, as I say, it's highly recommended. I'll definitely be watching it tomorrow night on RTE1. So just, anybody that's interested in politics, or interested in history, just take a look. And at the end of the day, it's up to people to make up their own minds on these issues, but I just thought I'd highlight it because obviously it did affect massively this area, some of the activity that this particular group was involved in. Okay, from that, I'd like to go on to wedding anniversary. This is Sarah and Stephen Fearn, both from Camlough and now living in Belfast, but they were living in Glasgow at the time, and this is where they Edinburgh at the time, and this is where they got married. And I was at the wedding myself, so it was around about 2012, I think, and or maybe 2014, and it was fantastic days. You could see just beautiful weather, and so it's a big shout out to Stephen and Sarah. I'd also like to give a shout out to Michelle Griffin. It's her birthday on the 18th, and that's Michelle, obviously, with her brothers at a wedding event. So big shout out to Michelle. Michelle, I think, is still recovering from an accident. That was around about maybe February, March of this year, down at the Five Ways. So I hope she has a good day for her birthday. Also for one of her neighbours, and this is for Maura Davison. Maura, as you can see from what she says there, you've been told, what is it now? You've been told stay in the house. Well, as you can see, she's Scottish, and I think that was obviously part of the COVID restrictions. So she lives down in Dobson's Way as well. She's a neighbour of Michelle's, and it's her birthday on the 18th as well. So there you go. Good Scottish woman that has come over to make her home in Ireland. I'd also like to give Laura Cinnamon a shout out. It's her birthday as well. As you can see, Laura plays for Camlough Rovers for the ladies, and it's also her birthday. Just before I finish, I'd like to give a bit of a shout out to one of my colleagues. That's Aoife Finnegan, Councillor Aoife Finnegan from Crossmaglen. As you know, sometimes the council, particularly when things are tight with cash and stuff like that, they cut some of the events. And it had been proposed, or certainly recommended by the council, that they wouldn't be putting any money into the Halloween events. Now, Crossmaglen has been running the Halloween events for quite a number of years, very, very successful, very popular with the people of Cross. And so anyhow, the recommendation was that they wouldn't run with the events. Aoife, she was at the meeting, she fought the corner for her community, and she got that overturned. So to the best of my knowledge, it's now down to the communities to come together with a plan, present that to the council, and they will fund it. Now, I know at the end of the day, obviously, COVID regulations and all of that type of stuff, so it won't be the same as it was in the past. But what they're talking about is, say, for example, a fireworks display where people can drive into the square, sit in the car, and, obviously that would be complying with the guidelines and watch the display. So fair play to my colleague Aoife. I'd also like to say, because obviously these are tight times, with many people becoming unemployed, that in Camlough anyway, both Camlough and Fishops are advertising jobs. So again, take a wee look at Facebook. It's been advertised on Facebook. If you think that's something that would suit yourself, it could be an opportunity that you may need, or you know somebody that does need it. So just saying fair play, that it's good to see a local company creating jobs for local people. So that's more or less it. I've been disturbed twice tonight, which is unusual. But that's more or less it tonight. And thanks very much again, Destination Uri, and look forward to speaking to you all again next Tuesday night. Any shout outs, any events or anything like that, anniversaries, birthdays, just give me a private message and I'll make sure you get a mention. Okay, Snag a foil, I'll go see you away.